Have you ever noticed how, the moment you stop chasing someone, they suddenly start showing up in your life again? One day, you're pouring your energy into them, texting, checking in, making the effort. But they're distant, treating you like an option, acting like your presence doesn't even matter. Then you pull back. You stop reaching out, you stop caring, and suddenly, boom, they're right there, craving your attention again. Why does this happen? It feels like magic, doesn't it? Like some hidden switch gets flipped the moment you give them space. But let me tell you something. It's not magic. It's psychology. And understanding this shift is one of the most powerful tools you can have, especially when it comes to mastering your relationships and yourself. In today's video, I'm going to walk you through 7 reasons why pulling away makes them come running back. And these aren't just random tricks. These are rooted in Stoic wisdom and dark psychology. The first thing you need to understand is this. It's not about manipulation, and it's not about playing games. The real secret lies in mastering yourself. When you give someone space, you're not just pulling away to make them miss you. You're stepping into your own power. You're showing them, and more importantly, yourself, that you don't need their attention to feel complete. And when you do that, something incredible happens. They start to feel your absence in ways they never expected. You see, people get comfortable. They think they've got you all figured out. You're the one always checking in, always available, always there to pick up the pieces. But when you stop, when you give them the gift of your absence, that comfort vanishes. And that's when the dynamic shifts. Suddenly, they're no longer in control. They start questioning everything they thought they knew about you. They wonder if they've misjudged you, if they've missed out on something important. And that uncertainty, that curiosity, is what makes them come back. But let me be clear, this isn't about changing them. It's about transforming yourself. When you pull back, when you focus on your own growth, you're not doing it to get their attention. You're doing it to become the best version of you. And that's exactly why they can't stay away. People are drawn to strength, to independence, to self-sufficiency. And when they see that you're thriving without them, it makes them want to be a part of your world again. So, in today's video, we're going to break down the 7 reasons why pulling back makes them come running. Get ready, because by the end of this video, you won't just understand why they come back. You'll know exactly how to take control of your relationships and your life. Let's dive in. Reason 1. The shock of your absence. Let's talk about the shock of your absence. The first, and perhaps the most powerful, reason they come back after you've given them distance. You see, people get comfortable. They start taking your presence for granted, assuming that no matter what, you'll always be there, always available. But the moment you step back, the moment you stop being that constant figure in their life, it sends a shockwave through their system. It's the kind of jolt that forces them to realize just how much your presence impacted them. Think about it. When you're always available, your value can diminish in their eyes. It's human nature. We get used to the things and people we see every day, thinking they'll always be there when we need them. But the moment you give them space, that comfort, that sense of security, disappears. It's like pulling the rug out from under them. Suddenly, they're left wondering, what happened? Why did you pull away? More importantly, they start asking themselves, what did I miss? What did I take for granted? This phenomenon is best explained by a powerful Stoic quote: "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." Seneca. When you give someone distance, they start to imagine what life is like without you. At first, they might not even notice, But as time passes, their mind fills with questions. They imagine what you're doing, who you're with, and how you've changed. That imagination, it can be far more intense than the reality of losing you. And that's when they start to panic. That's when they come back. When someone takes you for granted, they stop seeing your value. Your time, attention, and energy become expected, not appreciated. But when you pull back, when you stop giving them that energy, it creates a void. And that void is exactly what makes them come back. They realize how much they relied on your presence, even if they didn't show it at the time. They start to understand the weight of your absence. It's like losing a part of themselves they didn't even know they valued. The shock of your absence is what triggers this realization. It's a wake-up call that forces them to reevaluate how they treated you. And let me tell you, this shock can be the catalyst for real change in their behavior. They'll come back not because you manipulated them, but because they've come to see just how important you were in their life. So how do you do this effectively? How do you pull away without playing games? The answer is simple. You do it with intention. You're not pulling away to make them miss you. You're pulling away to focus on yourself, to grow, to evolve. When you pull back, you're giving them space to feel your absence, but more importantly, you're giving yourself the time and energy to invest in your own growth. This is where Stoicism comes into play. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control others. We can only control ourselves. You can't force someone to see your value. You can't make them appreciate you, but you can control how much of your energy you give to people who don't see your worth. By pulling back, you're reclaiming that energy and using it for yourself. When you give someone distance, you're allowing them to come to their own conclusions. You're giving them the chance to realize on their own what they lost. And trust me, that realization is far more powerful when it comes from within them rather than being something you try to force. Let's break this down with a relationship example. Imagine you've been dating someone for a while. At the beginning, everything was great. They were attentive, engaged, and made you feel special. But over time, things changed. They started taking you for granted, expecting you to always be the one reaching out, planning dates, making time for them. Slowly but surely, you became the one putting in all the effort, while they coasted along, comfortable in the knowledge that you'd always be there. Now, let's say you decide to pull back. You stop texting them first. You stop going out of your way to make plans, and you focus on your own life. At first, they may not even notice, but as time goes on, they start to feel your absence. They miss the little things, your texts, your attention, your effort, and that's when the shock hits. They realize they've taken you for granted, and now they're scrambling to get back into your good graces. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing them that your time and energy are valuable. When they experience the shock of your absence, it forces them to confront the fact that they took you for granted. And that's when they come back, ready to put in the effort they should have been giving you all along. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if it feels difficult to pull back? What if I'm worried they won't come back at all? Let me hit you with this. Pulling back is hard because it forces you to confront your own fears. Fear of losing them, fear of being forgotten, fear that they won't care. But here's the truth. If someone doesn't come back after you've given them distance, they were never going to value you in the first place. This step is about reclaiming your power, not about manipulating someone into missing you. If they don't come back, that's okay, because you're better off without someone who doesn't see your worth. But if they do come back, it's because they've had time to reflect and realize just how important you were to them. Think of it like a rubber band. The more you stretch it, the more tension builds. Eventually, when you let go, it snaps back with force. Your absence creates that tension. It builds in their mind, stretching until they can't handle it anymore. And when they come back, it's with the full realization of what they've been missing. Now I'm going to hit you with some tough love. Embrace this step. Don't second guess it. Don't doubt yourself. The shock of your absence is real, and it's powerful. But here's the thing, you can't just stop here. This is just the first step. We're just getting started. One step isn't enough to move the needle. You've got to stick with me through this entire journey if you want to transform your life and become the one worth chasing. So kill those thoughts of clicking away. You're in this to win this, and to win, you need to stay with me till the end. Accept the challenge to transform your life, to step into your power, and to become the person they can't help but miss. Let me know you've accepted this challenge by dropping "Don't take me granted" in the comments. Let me see who's serious about this transformation, because trust me, this is only the beginning. Reason 2. Curiosity takes over. Curiosity is a powerful force, and it's one of the biggest reasons they come back after you've given them distance. People are naturally drawn to mystery, to things they don't fully understand, and when you pull away, you create that very mystery in their mind. When you were always available, always there, they felt like they knew you inside and out. There were no surprises, no unknowns. But the moment you stop reaching out, when you step back and give them space, something fundamental shifts in their perception. That's when their curiosity takes over. At first, they may not even notice your absence. Maybe they think you're just busy or having a tough week. But as time goes on, and they still don't hear from you, their mind starts racing. Why aren't they texting me? What are they doing? Have they moved on? These questions begin to fill the space that your presence used to occupy. And the more they wonder about you, the more they can't help but be drawn back to you. That curiosity creates a kind of tension, a need for them to fill in the blanks. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." When they realize you're no longer as present in their life, their reaction is driven by curiosity. They react to your absence by filling it with thoughts of you. Their mind starts spinning scenarios. Who are you spending your time with now? What's changed in your life? Are you happier without them? And it's this whirlwind of thoughts that makes them come back. They want answers. They want to know why you're no longer the person they thought they had figured out. When someone can predict every move you make, they stop being interested. That's why predictability can kill attraction. But the moment you become a little more mysterious, when you're no longer so easy to read, that's when people start to pay attention again. They want to know what's going on. They want to figure you out. And the irony is that in trying to do so, they end up thinking about you more than they ever did when you were fully present in their life. So, how do you do this better? How do you harness the power of curiosity without playing games? The answer lies in living your life fully and authentically. You're not pulling away to create some artificial mystery. You're pulling away because you're genuinely focusing on yourself. You're working on your goals, spending time with people who uplift you, and living a life that excites you. When they see that you're no longer prioritizing them in the same way, it creates that curiosity gap. But it's not a trick. It's a natural consequence of you living your life for yourself. Let me give you a relationship example. Imagine you've always been the one to initiate conversations with your partner. You're the one who checks in, makes plans, and keeps the relationship moving forward. But then, one day, you decide to stop. You don't send that good morning text. You don't ask about their day. Instead, you focus on your own life. At first, they may not notice, but over time they begin to wonder, why haven't they texted me? Did I do something wrong? Are they seeing someone else? Their curiosity builds, and before you know it, they're the ones reaching out, trying to re-establish that connection. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing them, through your actions, that you're not dependent on their attention. When you're no longer predictable, when you're no longer always there at the same time, in the same way, you force them to re-evaluate how they see you. They realize that they don't know everything about you, that there are parts of your life they no longer have access to, and that sparks curiosity. Now, I understand that pulling back and letting curiosity do its work can feel difficult. You might worry that if you're not reaching out, they'll forget about you. But let me tell you this, if someone can forget about you just because you're not constantly in their face, then they weren't truly invested in the first place. The right people, the ones who are genuinely interested in you, will come back. They'll come back not because you forced them, but because their own curiosity drew them back in. Let's use a metaphor here. Think of yourself like a flame. When someone is too close to the flame, they stop noticing its warmth. But when they step back, when there's some distance between them and the flame, they begin to miss its heat. They start to appreciate the glow, the warmth, the comfort it provides. That's exactly what happens when you give someone space. The distance allows them to see you more clearly, to appreciate the parts of you they took for granted, and their curiosity about why you pulled back makes them want to come closer again. Here's where the real power of this step comes in. When you embrace the idea of letting curiosity work in your favor, you stop needing to chase anyone. You stop worrying about what they think or whether they'll come back, because you understand that curiosity is a natural human response. People will always be drawn to what they don't fully understand. And when you stop being predictable, when you stop being easily accessible, you become that source of curiosity. You become the puzzle they want to solve. So, let me hit you with this. Embrace this step fully. Don't second-guess it. Don't worry about whether it's working or not. When you give them the gift of your absence, you're allowing curiosity to work its magic. But remember, this is just the beginning. You can't move the needle with one step alone. You've got to stick with me through the rest of this journey if you want to transform your relationships and become the person they can't help but think about. Reason 3. You break their comfort zone when you're always available, always there for someone. They get used to it. They expect you to be around. They stop putting in effort because they think they've got you all figured out. You become predictable, and in relationships, predictability can breed complacency. People get comfortable thinking you're always going to be the one making the first move, planning the dates, and putting in the effort. But what happens when you pull back? When you suddenly stop being that safety net they've taken for granted? That's when everything changes. You break their comfort zone, and trust me, this shift is powerful. Here's the truth. People only value what they think they could lose. When someone knows you're always going to be there no matter what, they stop seeing the urgency to show up for you. But when you remove yourself from that equation, when you stop making their life so comfortable, they feel it. And it hits them hard. Suddenly, you're no longer predictable, and the dynamic shifts. Now, instead of them expecting you to always be around, they're left wondering what happened. And in that space of uncertainty, they start to re-evaluate everything. The Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." This applies to relationships too. The person who took you for granted suddenly realizes how little they actually needed from you until you weren't there. Now, their wants kick in. They start wanting the comfort of your presence, the security of knowing you'll be there for them. The very absence of your attention becomes something they crave. It's when you've broken their comfort zone that they start to realize just how much they relied on you. You see, when someone is comfortable, they stop questioning their own behavior. They don't feel the need to change or improve because in their mind, everything is just fine. But when you pull away, you force them into a position where they have to confront their own complacency. They have to face the reality that maybe they weren't putting in the effort they should have. And trust me, this is where the magic happens. When you break their comfort zone, you're giving them the opportunity to grow, to realize that they need to step up if they want to keep you in their life. But let's be real, pulling back isn't always easy. It's tempting to go back to being the one who makes things right, to send that text, to fix the situation. That's because stepping away can feel like you're losing control. But the reality is, you're not losing control. You're taking it back. You're reclaiming your power by no longer allowing yourself to be the one who constantly holds the relationship together. And I know, it feels uncomfortable. You might even question if they'll notice, if they'll care. But let me tell you this, they will. When you stop making them the center of your world, it forces them to question why you're no longer as available, why you're no longer showing up the way you used to. And in that questioning, they start to see the gaps they didn't notice before. They start to miss the small things, the things they once took for granted. And here's the real kicker. When you break someone's comfort zone, you're not just changing their behavior, you're changing the way they see you. You go from being someone they expected to always be there, to someone they now have to earn back into their life. Imagine this. You're in a relationship where you're always the one initiating everything. The plans, the conversations, the effort. It's all coming from you. Over time, your partner gets used to it. They don't have to try anymore because they know you'll always be there. But one day, you decide to stop. You stop texting first, stop bending over backward to accommodate them, and you start focusing on yourself. At first, they might not even notice, but as time goes on, they start to feel it. They miss the effort you used to put in. They start to realize how much of the relationship was dependent on your actions. And that's when they'll come back. But this time, they'll come back with effort. They'll realize that you're not someone they can take for granted anymore. Now, I understand that stepping back can be difficult, especially when you're used to being the one who always fixes things. It's hard to let go and trust that they'll come back on their own. But here's the thing, breaking someone's comfort zone isn't about playing games. It's not about punishing them or making them chase you. It's about giving them the space to realize they need to put in effort too. It's about creating balance. And that balance only comes when they start feeling the discomfort of not having you around. Breaking their comfort zone is about creating a shift in the dynamic of the relationship. It's no longer just you doing all the work. Now, they have to step up if they want to keep you in their life. And that shift, that discomfort, will make them come back with a new appreciation for you and for the effort it takes to be in your life. Think of it like this. You've been the warmth in their life, the cozy blanket that keeps them comfortable. But when you pull that warmth away, they're left in the cold, and it's only then that they realize just how much they needed your warmth in the first place. But here's the thing, they don't get that warmth back unless they work for it. Unless they prove that they're willing to put in the same effort you've been putting in all along. Now, I want you to take this to heart. Breaking their comfort zone is about showing them that you won't be taken for granted. You're no longer just going to be their backup plan, their emotional safety net. You're reclaiming your value by stepping back and allowing them to feel the weight of your absence. And when they come back, and trust me, they will, it'll be with the understanding that they need to show up for you, not just expect you to always be there for them. But here's the catch. You can't just stop here. Breaking their comfort zone is just the beginning. This is only step 3, and if you really want to see a transformation in yourself and your relationships, you've got to stay with me through this entire journey. You can't move the needle with just one step. So, kill those thoughts of clicking away. If you're serious about reclaiming your power and becoming the one they chase, you need to stay with me till the end. Accept the challenge to transform your life and drop "Don't take me granted" in the comments. Let me see who's ready to level up, because trust me, this is just the beginning. Reason 4: the fear of replacement. Nothing shakes someone's sense of security like the fear of being replaced. When you pull back and give them distance, one of the most powerful forces that can drive them back is the unsettling realization that you might move on without them. This fear creeps in slowly at first. At first, they may not even notice your absence, but over time, as they begin to see you thriving without their attention, that fear grows stronger, gnawing at them with questions they don't want to face. What if they've found someone else? What if they've replaced me? The human mind has a funny way of amplifying insecurities, and when someone starts imagining you moving on, their fear doesn't stay in the realm of possibility. It becomes an all-consuming worry. That fear of replacement is a natural reaction to losing something they thought they could keep forever. When you stop being available, when you no longer give them the attention they were so used to, they can't help but wonder if someone else is stepping into the role they took for granted. Epictetus, the great Stoic philosopher, once said, "It is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows." In this case, they thought they knew everything about you. They thought they had you secured, that your attention and affection were guaranteed. But the moment you withdraw, that illusion of security shatters. And now they're left with a growing realization. They don't know you as well as they thought. They start imagining someone else appreciating you, valuing you, and that fear hits them like a wave they didn't expect. It forces them to reflect on their actions and, more importantly, their inaction. The fear of replacement is deeply tied to human nature. We crave what we can't have, and nothing is more desirable than something we fear losing. When they start imagining you moving on, that fear of you being happy with someone else pushes them into action. Suddenly, they're thinking about all the times they took you for granted, the moments they ignored your efforts, and the care they didn't reciprocate. And now, the thought that someone else could be stepping in, giving you what they failed to provide, becomes unbearable. It's not just the idea of someone else being with you. It's the fear that someone else will treat you better, see your value in ways they couldn't. The fear that this new person will appreciate the qualities they once ignored. And that's a blow to their ego. When they start imagining you in someone else's arms, being valued the way they should have valued you, it stirs something deep inside them. This fear becomes a catalyst for them to make a move, to come back and reclaim the place they once held in your life. But here's the thing. They can't just walk back in like nothing happened. Your absence has already shown them that you're not waiting around. Now let's get real. Imagine you've been putting in all the effort in a relationship, sending the texts, making the plans, showing up for them, and in return, they've grown comfortable, complacent, even distant. Then one day, you decide to stop. You stop texting first, stop going out of your way, and focus on yourself. At first, they might brush it off, thinking you'll come back like you always do. But as days go by, they start to notice. They start to wonder, what's going on? Why haven't they reached out? Then the fear starts creeping in. Have they found someone else? Are they spending time with someone new? And that fear is like a ticking time bomb. It grows with every day they don't hear from you, every Instagram post they see of you, looking happy, living your life. And before they know it, they're consumed by the idea that they're being replaced. Now, I know what you're thinking. What if they don't care? What if they're fine without me? But here's the truth. If they ever had any real feelings for you, this fear will hit them harder than you realize. Because deep down, nobody wants to be replaced. Nobody wants to think that someone else is taking the place they once held in your life. And if they're not coming back because of that fear, then they were never worth your time to begin with. The fear of replacement is not about manipulating someone into coming back. It's about reclaiming your own worth. It's about showing them that you're not afraid to move on, that you know your value, and that you won't wait around for someone who doesn't appreciate you. When they feel that fear, they come back because they realize they made a mistake. They realize they're on the verge of losing something valuable. Now, let's hit hard with some reality. Embrace this step with full confidence. This is about showing the world and yourself that you don't wait around for anyone who doesn't see your worth. When you pull back, when you let them feel the fear of losing you, you're creating space for them to realize just how much you meant to them. But you can't stop here. This is just one part of the journey to reclaiming your power. Stick with me through this entire process, because transformation doesn't happen with a single step. It's a full commitment. So, kill those doubts, stay with me, and let's finish what we've started. If you're ready to reclaim your power and ensure that no one ever overlooks your value again, I want to hear from you. Drop "I'm unstoppable" in the comments and show the world that you're done waiting for anyone's validation. This is your moment to rise, to own your worth, and to step into the life you deserve. Let me know you're with me on this journey, and let's transform together. Reason 5. Your confidence becomes magnetic. Confidence is one of the most magnetic forces in the world. When you give someone distance, something incredible happens. You start to grow, and that growth is powered by your newfound confidence. Confidence isn't loud or boastful. It's a quiet, unshakable belief in yourself. It's the moment you realize that you don't need anyone else's approval to feel complete. And when you stop seeking validation from others, you begin to glow in a way that others can't ignore. As you focus on yourself, investing in your goals, passions, and self-improvement, you radiate an energy that is undeniable. People are naturally drawn to those who know their worth and aren't afraid to stand on their own. The person who once took you for granted begins to notice that you're not the same anymore. You're not chasing after them or looking for their attention because you found something more powerful, your own strength. This shift in dynamic is what makes your confidence so attractive. The person who thought they had you figured out is now left wondering how you became so self-assured, and that curiosity pulls them back in. They realize that you're no longer dependent on their validation, and that's when they start craving your attention again. Confidence isn't about pretending to be someone you're not. It's about fully embracing who you are and owning it. The more you invest in yourself, the more magnetic you become, and the more they realize just how much they underestimated you. Reason 6. The scarcity principle. When something is easily accessible, it's often taken for granted. The same applies to relationships. If you're always available, always present, your presence becomes routine, predictable. But when you pull back, when you create distance, something remarkable happens. You become scarce, and scarcity creates value. The less they can have of you, the more they'll start to crave you. This is the power of the scarcity principle. When you limit your availability, it forces them to re-evaluate how much they value your time and presence. Suddenly, your attention is no longer guaranteed, and they begin to realize just how much they relied on it. It's human nature to want what we can't have. And by making yourself less available, you're triggering that instinct within them. This isn't about playing hard to get. It's about showing that your time and energy are valuable, that you're not going to give it freely to someone who isn't reciprocating. When they see that they no longer have the same access to you, it sparks a desire to work harder to earn your attention. It's a shift in power, one that makes them recognize your worth in a way they didn't when you were always around. But here's the key. This shift has to be genuine. You're not pulling back to manipulate them. You're doing it because you've chosen to prioritize yourself. When they feel the scarcity of your attention, they'll realize they can no longer take you for granted. And that's when they'll come back, appreciating what they once overlooked. Reason 7, the realization of what they've lost. Let's talk about the most powerful force that makes them come back after you've given them distance. The realization of what they've lost. This is the moment when everything finally hits them, the moment they start to reflect on your absence, and it dawns on them just how much you brought into their life. It's not immediate, it takes time, but once they start piecing it together, the weight of that realization becomes undeniable, and they can't ignore it any longer. When someone is accustomed to having you in their life, they often don't fully appreciate what you do for them. Your presence becomes a backdrop to their everyday routine, and they take it for granted. They get used to you always being there, supporting them, listening to them, and offering your time and energy. But here's the thing. When you give them distance, it's like taking away a part of their world they didn't even realize was so important. Suddenly, they're left without your emotional support, your attention, and your presence. And that void, it's impossible to ignore. At first, they might not even notice you're gone. They might think you're just busy or preoccupied. But as the days go by, that empty space you left behind starts to become more noticeable. It's the small things, those texts you used to send, the effort you used to make, the conversations you initiated. All of that is gone now, and without it, they're forced to confront a new reality. You were giving them more than they realized, and now they miss it. This ties into one of the core principles of Stoicism. He who is not contented with what he has would not be contented with what he would like to have. Socrates. They had your presence, your time, your energy, and yet they didn't value it when they had it. Now that you've pulled away, they're confronted with the harsh reality that they didn't appreciate what they had. And here's the truth. They will only truly understand your worth when you're no longer there for them. Let's be real. When someone realizes what they've lost, it's not just about missing your company or your attention. It's about recognizing the deeper impact you had on their life. The emotional support, the stability, the love and care you provided. They start to replay all those moments in their mind. It's almost as if they're rediscovering all the reasons they were drawn to you in the first place. But now, those memories are tinged with regret because they know they took it for granted. And that regret is what drives them to come back. Imagine this. You've been there for someone through thick and thin. You've offered your support, helped them through tough times, and invested your energy in the relationship. But over time, they became distant, maybe even complacent, and stopped appreciating your efforts. Then you decide to pull back. You stop reaching out, stop making plans, and start focusing on yourself. They may not notice at first, but eventually they start to feel the absence of your presence. They miss the comfort of knowing you were always there. They miss the way you made them feel understood, and that's when they realize just how much they've lost. The realization of what they've lost is powerful because it forces them to look inward. They start questioning themselves. How did I not see this before? How did I let them slip away? And that inner reflection stirs up emotions they can't ignore. They regret not valuing you when they had the chance, and now they're faced with the possibility that it might be too late. But here's the key. You're not pulling back to punish them or to make them feel bad. You're pulling back to reclaim your energy, to focus on yourself, and to let them come to their own realization naturally. If they come back, it's because they've truly recognized your worth, not because you force them to. And that's where the real power lies. They come back on their own, fully aware of what they almost lost. So here's the deal. When you give someone distance, you give them the opportunity to reflect. You allow them to come face to face with the reality that they've taken you for granted. And when that realization hits, it's like a wave of clarity washing over them. They finally see you for who you are and all that you've brought into their life. Now, I want you to understand something. You can't stop here. The realization of what they've lost is a powerful force, but it's just one step in reclaiming your power and transforming your relationships. Don't let this be a temporary win. If you want to see lasting change, you need to stay with me through the entire process. This journey isn't about making them miss you. It's about becoming the best version of yourself. So, stick with me. Let me know that you're ready to embrace your worth by dropping "I'm unstoppable" in the comments. Let's keep pushing forward together, because this is just the beginning.